Hello and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today Magazine at recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost we are a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself, for a loved one, or maybe you're actively in recovery a little while or maybe a long, long time, you're going to find all kinds of topics related to addiction, recovery, and really living a happy, successful, sober life at Recovery Today. My name is Rob Hamby. I'm the editor-in-chief of Recovery Today, and I'm joined by a couple of guests. Big surprise. I'm always excited, but these guys are doing some really, really big things that I honestly believe is going to make a measurable difference in the fight against addiction. I'm joined by Dr. Michelle Heinrich, who is the CEO of Ascend Detox and Recovery, as well as Dr. Michael Chang, who is the Chief Medical Officer. We're going to talk about a lot of really cutting-edge, cool stuff. This is an ongoing series that we're doing here, but in this series, we're actually going to talk a little bit about CBD. But welcome, Michael. Welcome, Michelle. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Robert. We're really glad to talk to you.
Well, I'm glad to actually share you with everybody, because when we first started talking and you were sharing about what it is that you're doing, I was really, really blown away. So let me set this up appropriately for everybody here, because Ascend is actually very different than anything that we have seen before. Firstly, and I think maybe partly most importantly, and it almost seems counter, is that this is a hospital-based detox and recovery center, but also on the cutting edge of the holistic side of treatment. And as I said a moment ago, we're going to talk a little bit about CBD, or a great deal about it, as one of the things that you're using out of the box. But to get into it a little bit and introduce everybody to you, can you tell us a little bit about, yourself and then how you came to be with Ascend and anything like that?
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and start. My name is, Dr. Michelle Heinrich. I'm the CEO of Southeast Texas ER and Hospital, and Ascend Detox and Recovery program is inside of our hospital. And I have been the CEO here since we started the hospital. And we have been growing this program. It is something that we stepped off into toward the late part of last year. And we've been growing it and building on the programming that we have, and starting to add all these extra protocols that we have come across and we've done research on to make sure that we're offering the best potential for the patients to start finding healing from addiction. And so a little bit of my background, I am, I've started out clinical, nursing school, medical school, MBA, PhD, and
you got a lot of letters after your name, I got to say.
Thank you. Just a lot of work in quality. I've done a lot of work in ER and trauma. So I've definitely seen my share of addiction and how it destroys lives and ruins families. And, I've dealt with it for more than 20 years. And, me personally, in my own personal life, I have family members that are struggling as well. And so from every gamut of, from professional to personal, I have, skin in the game with it. And so I've come and I've met Dr. Michael Chang here through our facility, and I'll let him introduce himself a little bit and tell you about his greatness.
Please.
Oh, thank you. I'm not sure if I can be anywhere close to what the Now, I'm Michael Chang, and I'm the Chief Medical Officer for the hospital as well as for Ascend. I'm a emergency physician, and I've been practicing over 25 years. And my interest in addiction stems from the fact that I was on the front lines working in the ER, fighting the ravages of addiction. 18-year-old girl comes in, I have to intubate him to keep her alive. And I've also, seen unfortunate incidents where I actually have to talk to her families, and that really drove home to me what the consequences and the devastation that this addiction epidemic has caused all our lives. And I made a pivot toward more the wellness as well as the addiction treatment side of things, in part of this. I've seen the consequences of addiction. I'd rather also fight this, not just at the end result. I want to be on the front lines with which you can keep these people, all our folks, from hitting the emergency departments, half dead. That is not the best outcome that anybody wants. And as such, I have kind of put together sort of my thinking, on the wellness side as well as the addiction side, to try to merge the modalities that can best treat the holistic aspects of addiction, meaning that you want to keep them healthy, you want to fertilize their physiology such that they can become receptive to modalities of therapy and spirituality and abstinence, and at the end of the day, the outcome needs to be that we have a society that is clean, engaged, and is actively trying to become better than it is currently. The state of addiction today is unacceptable, to say the least.
It's devastating. It really is devastating, and I can't imagine as an ER doctor what it would be like to actually literally see. I mean, I've seen movies, of course, and on TV of people overdosing, and I'm sure that some of it is pretty realistic. It's pretty graphic, but really to be there and to see somebody's daughter, somebody's son, or giving those kind of news, that kind of news, I can really relate. And I think that it actually is something that we can comfortably say this affects everyone that's out there. Some of the things, and I'll kind of say some of this as we go along, kind of series by series, because for all of our readers that are out there, we're going to follow these guys because it's really remarkable. And in my mind, there's things that it just seems like you don't really see very much of it. So let me kind of highlight a couple of things that I like. Is that we're talking about a hospital-based program, but when I'm thinking of hospital, I'm really a holistic kind of person. I'm always thinking strictly drugs. So you're using modalities in your that are clinically. There's clinical data supporting and things like that on it, but normally we kind of think of them as two separate things. There's the normal hospital type of protocols, cut things out, give drugs and stuff like that, and then there's more of a holistic side, but yet we have this holistic side into what you're doing. I want to focus on the CBD, but can you give me like a quick background, because when we talked and I took notes, I was blown away by what you're doing with Detox and what happens when a guy comes in, because you don't see this in terms of, if you're going to do something, anything, you're going to go out of the country, you're going to go somewhere else to do something, but in a hospital, insurance-based, give me an overview and kind of recap a little bit about what it is that you do there.
So, there's something I like to call the standard of care, and then there's another thing, what I call the best care. The standard of care is what is being practiced currently, and I guess I would expect all hospital-based detox programs, wherein you treat the symptoms, and you use something called medication-assisted, treatment, where you may use, maybe misoboxone or what have you, to help with the withdrawal symptoms and keep them, to try to use that modality to try to keep them, patients clean over time. And I think there's obviously a place for that. But given we all know that the rate of recidivism and the outcomes are obviously not what we would expect, that, this kind of system is, in of itself, I believe, is insufficient, meaning it's necessary. We've got to keep all our patients comfortable while they're undergoing the withdrawal from their drugs to become clean. But if that's all you offer, then I think we're probably not doing everything that we can on the hospital side, on the acute side, to help our patients. And so this is where we would like to add another layer to all this, which is what you alluded to, which is the holistic side of things. Meaning that we like to see beyond what is the immediate 2-3 days in which the patient are being actively getting off or clean from the drugs. So, and this is where you alluded to that you use CBD, but as much as I would say the CBD is a potential adjunct, and I use the word adjunct to treatment, I like to see it as one of the many tools that we like to have in our toolbox to be able to help the patient get through the acute phase.
For sure, and so I don't see this as like we're not talking about, for everybody that may have not got the first of the series, which was our January issue, I don't see this as like this is a CBD type of a protocol, because there's a lot of things that are in here. Like, can you go, maybe, let's see, I've got a list that's here. I know that it's medically detox, that it's a medically assisted detox. There's pharmacogenetics, there's brain mapping. Can you go through some of the things that we have here? And actually, conspicuously, we really didn't include CBD in the last one, but I'd love to. That's really what had blown me away. NAD.
So we're concerned on CBD. So as the approach that we like to see is a holistic approach, meaning the way I see things, you must try to optimize the person's physiology as well as their mental state, so that they can get to the next step beyond the hospital. So how do we achieve that? And we achieve that in part, through a systematic approach where we identify what is the underlying cause. In the medical term, a dual diagnosis, meaning that obviously everybody comes in because of their addiction, but is there other reasons for that addiction? For example, is it because of anxiety from PTSD? Is it because there is some underlying issue with depression? And by identifying all those causes, psychiatric causes as well as psychosocial, we can then identify what tools we need in order to help this patient. And so CBD is a relatively recent phenomenon. I don't think it's been going on for 5 years. That found in the Journal of Psychiatry in May of 2019 to show that it can help decrease the craving and the withdrawal symptoms from opiates. Now, this is something that's obviously very new, and it's obviously not standard of care. But what I see in this is that it is a way for us to help our patients to get over their withdrawal symptoms, as well as for a way for them to go forward, a way to do it pharmacologically to keep them comfortable enough to continue to be sober. And so that's where CBD comes in. It's part of a toolbox that I would like to employ. This is everything else. And so just to kind of go on, what we do is first we, as I said, identify what they need. Brain mapping is one thing that is coming to the fore in terms of our diagnoses. For example, there are certain types of, let's say, depression, and this is where the psychiatry comes in, that shows that certain type of brain waves will predispose you to be more susceptible to addiction, for example. And by optimizing those brain waves, by knowing that up front, we can use techniques such as neurofeedback as well as transcranial magnetic stimulation to help augment those areas that's already been downgraded in an addiction process. And then at the same time, as the brain is trying to become more, if you say, I shouldn't say normalized, but it should be balanced, we need to feed the brain with all the right food and the nutrients, right? You need to make sure you got enough, let's say, for example, there's an underlying folate deficiency that's causing a serotonin issue. Well, you need to make sure you address that, right? You also need to give it good old building blocks such as DHA, the fatty acids that brain is 90% comprised of, right? Yeah. You also need to do things that maybe some people have deficiencies, include neurotransmitters and glutamate deficiency, and there is some data to show that N-acetylcysteine can help in that. So these are the kind of supplementation strategy, nutritional strategy that you have to employ in order to best optimize the brain so that it can renormalize. And then once we hopefully able to achieve that inpatient, you continue it outpatient in some fashion or the other, and then we'll then be able to pass it on to our therapists for the residential either or IOP or what have you, so that they can best continue that path. And the analogy I like to use is kind of like a baby, a newborn. A newborn baby, within the first 90 days, require the most intensive care you can think of. They need breast milk, they need mother's nipple, they need all the love and care. You need to coddle that baby for his 90 days.
Yeah.
After that, they can go to daycare, whatever, to learn the world. But in order to achieve the best success, you have to put them in as early as possible the right directional path. And then hopefully take it from there. And we take it very holistically in the sense that I do not believe any one modality is going to become sufficient in and of itself.
Yeah.
So what we do now, I consider this one leg out of a three-legged stool. We also have to have the therapy. And maybe
counseling and things like that to kind of get to the underlying issue.
And then the whole psychosocial environment of the patient, right? Because anywhere that it falls, the whole chair is gonna fall. And I see my role as to make sure that our patients leave with as good of a physiology, if you will, as they can, so that it minimizes their craving by trying to make sure that the neurochemistries are optimized and that their neural networks are primed, if you will, to resist the temptations of addiction.
So in my opinion, and the thing that's funny, it's always not be the dumbest guy in the room, too, by the way, I will just kind of point out, because I love talking to smart people and doctors. That's me, the dumbest guy in the room. But I look at this kind of as a 30,000 or a 50,000 foot view. This is just my opinion in terms of substance abuse disorder. As I see it as physical, emotional, and even I see it as spiritual. I think that we crave something within, really it's connectedness. In my opinion, I think it's a connectedness to God, but it's certainly a connectedness to others, and somehow other people feel isolated. But there are three different components that are here. There's the physical side and everything that's happening in the brain and the chemicals and dopamine and all the kind of stuff like that. Then there's overall the underlying issues, which I just see it. It's not even the chicken and the egg for me. It's like it's more like a vortex or a tornado. One feeds to the other. And so what I'm kind of getting from everything that you're saying, and what I love about this is, let's rapidly, because that is the kind of, what's the benefit in this is, as I understand, we can rapidly detox people and with physical evidence, like look at the brain map and see how it is, identify the holistic sides, dietary, are you low on DHA and things like that, these fats that are needed in your brain chemistry to make us feel good and to provide dopamine, but then at the same time kind of you're handing off to therapists and things like that. And then there's also even a spiritual side to it. I don't know if it's how integrated it is into the program, but I find this remarkable that all of this is encompassed in a hospital. That's really what blows me away.
Well, we do. One of the things we do have that you touched on is we do have a spiritual component here.
Okay.
I myself, is ordained minister. Our clinical program director, Dr. Von Bryant, also ordained minister. So we do provide that spiritual component. We do a Wednesday morning worship here.
Oh, wow.
that want to join. It's not something that we force upon them or say you have to join. It's there if you want it. Not everybody's ready to receive it. So, but for those who are, I believe that that is a huge component in recovery.
Sure.
It's huge to understand we are powerless and that we don't drive this vehicle. And I think that really is a key component in recovery. And that is something that we do provide here. And so I just also throwing that out.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I'm really, but it's not like you're, so anybody can go there regardless of, obviously, it's not like you're a Christian or a Jewish or something like that type of a place.
Absolutely.
Anybody can go there and choose to or not. It's, like I said, it's my opinion. It sounds like it's yours as well. I think that there's a soul connectedness that actually is it's what works for me really well. And so I really didn't realize that. That's pretty amazing. I think that I jumped ahead of I put the cart a little bit ahead of the horse as well, as we kind of jumped into CBD, because I'm thinking everybody knows what CBD is, but we are talking about, I don't even know what whether it's cannabinoid something, I don't even know what it is, but this is from marijuana or from hemp, but it's the non-psychotropic stuff. It's not THC. It's not what gets you high. So it's not like it's a hospital where one of the things you're giving is stuff that's going to get people stoned or high. Talk to me a little bit more then about how this actually works. Maybe not too much as a doctor, but I'm interested how this works with the opiate receptors and things like that in particular, and pain, because people use CBD for pain relief and stuff like that.
Right. So CBD, as you alluded to, Rob, is the part of the hemp plant.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously hemp plants are basically a twin of the marijuana plant, except it's much lower in the THC component, which is psychoactive. That's what gives you the high.
Yeah.
CBD is made by the same plant as well, but it does not give you the high. And as a matter of what it does is it modulates what we call the endocannabinoid system, which you all may have heard of. And by the way, that's the
endocannabinoid system. I probably just said it wrong, I'm sure, is in our bodies now.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so it is also just not to get too technical. Part of the endocannabinoid system that is affected by this is also in the brain. And we think, a lot of people think that it's also affected in part by the addiction pathology as well. And so, a few psychiatrists last few years have gone into figuring out why, if CBD can be helpful in addiction, and that's where I came up. I read the data last year that it may help. So, the mechanisms are not really known, but there is, I think everybody has some degree of facility with the CBD nowadays.
Yeah.
Good anti-inflammatory. It can help with pain, and you also have good data on anxiety and sleep.
Yeah.
The best thing about that is it is not psychoactive, as you said. It doesn't give you a high.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll put you to sleep in the right doses. And it may also help with anxiety. And I think in this case, the way we like to deploy it is that hopefully it'll help with some of the withdrawal effects. And then at the same time, if taken a little further out, maybe a little longer, it may help the overall craving. And as a matter of fact, there are studies that came out of Arizona from this group called Physician's Choice. They did it with their own pain clinic. CBD formulation has helped their pain opiate patients to decrease their opiate use within over a 9-month period. And about 30% of them was able to decrease their opiate use by about 50%. So
amazing.
And this is something that's been presented in the American Society of Anesthesiology. So this is all becoming, to the fore. And I think we are probably a little bit ahead of the curve in executing, in putting this in our program. But I have a philosophy here, which is do no harm.
Yep.
And as best I can tell, CBD is one of those things you can probably take a gallon of.
Yep.
And probably survive to talk about it.
Yeah. I use CBD myself. In fact, just last night I took a CBD sleeping pill or whatever. I really like it. I don't take them all the time, but for some reason, I don't know, like getting older or whatever, sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I just wanted to sleep all the way through, and I like it. I mean, I just go off, kind of just go off real smoothly.
And to dovetail what you just said on the sleep side, if you want to go into a little bit on that, a recent study just came out literally about 6-7 months ago that CBD, all the sleep aids, and that means things like Ambien and all that, it does not alter your sleep architecture. Meaning, it does not, give you the hangover, if you will.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mess up with your deep sleep. Because a lot of people take Ambien, but then they wake up probably grouchier than they were, without it.
If I take a regular sleeping pill or whatever it is, maybe not an Ambien, just something I buy at the drugstore, I wake up. I feel better than if I was awake all night, but it's different. I feel like even last night. I mean, I know I had REM sleep. I actually, I dreamed and stuff like that, rather than just being, unconscious. And my personal thing, I like to take things that are natural. I don't like to take drugs if I don't have to, at all. So I find it really interesting. And so in terms of being the cutting edge, it was probably 3 years or so ago that we interviewed. It was very taboo, too. In fact, I was very hesitant, reticent to have something on about CBD, but I was connected with a gal that was a research scientist. I like to call him a white lab coat person, that was actually a research scientist at a university, George Washington, I think, and was an expert in cannabinoids and also in opiates, and was talking about even in the future that people would, instead of taking opiate doses, because there's anxiety that an opiate addict in recovery would have about maybe a surgery that they're facing. And they're saying that in combining together CBD with a lower dose of opiates, you could almost achieve the same. You can't really throw out opiates altogether. You can't just, because you're saying that they're very effective for pain, obviously. Problem is they make you feel, they take all your pain away. But
right.
What are your thoughts on kind of the usages like that? To the patients that leave Ascend, are they going to probably stay on CBD, or like myself, take it occasionally? How would that work?
I think what I would say is that it will probably be an individual basis. If there is any inkling of effect, then I think it makes sense for us to try to continue that treatment. And, obviously not everyone's going to respond the same way. And so to say that obviously I'm not in a position, I don't want to say that we're going to blanket say everybody needs to be on it. Now, what you just said was very salient, which is CBD can be a very useful addition to whatever treatment that patient needs to be on. And you mentioned pain. We talked about, and as I said, it may help decrease the amount of opiate or non-narcotic pain medicine that a patient needs to be on.
Mm-hmm.
A story. So I went into, last year I went to a CBD store just to kind of check it out.
Right.
And, I was just talking. Is it
a CBD store, or is it like a smoke shop? Because that's I live in Washington State. I can't imagine a doctor like walking into the weed store here. But anyhow.
Oh, I was just curious. In Texas, they'll get me behind jail. I won't do that. CBD store is legal here in Texas now, so a lot of these shops are open. So I had this, AC, air conditioner gentleman that came up that I was talking to. He's like, yeah, and he's forked over $200 for 2 bottles.
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, I usused to take pop, naproxens like candy.
Yeah.
I only take it maybe, once every other day.
Wow.
This CBD allowed him to cut down on the amount of pain medicine that he needs to function. I mean, guys, hell, they lifted, they're crawling, they're doing one attic. And so it has helped him a lot. And again, I'm not saying that it is the only thing that anybody needs.
Yeah.
But if you had the choice between taking Vicodin or otherwise you can't walk, and maybe taking something like this and maybe cutting down on your Vicodin, absolutely. I think this is something that is less damaging to the body.
Yeah.
And again, it's really a plant-based medication if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously, has other benefits as well, other than, just relieving the pain and potentially giving you all the side effects of addiction. There's no abuse of potential that we know of.
Yeah. I think that there is remarkable plant-based medicine that's out there. I find the speed of kind of adoption of CBD, since it's been, on my own radar, the radar from the magazine, just a few years now, to be something that I'm out of the box, I'm pretty holistic, but to have it go from something that, gosh, I don't even know if I want to put this in the magazine. Maybe people will get mad at us because, it's pot, which it's not, but that's the mindset, that being able to have a conversation with doctors about the data and have this kind of enthusiasm is really remarkable. But let me get into one thing real quick. As you said, all of the protocols that you do there at Ascend, they're kind of individual patient-based, which is it's kind of cliche in the industry. But you're doing a lot of things. Like, one of the things I loved is you do pharmacogenetics. So you're actually doing DNA testing when somebody comes in to find out about stuff that you're going to give them and kind of know a little bit about how they might individually react from the DNA side of that. Is that something like, that's one piece I'm looking in there, or like brain mapping? Does everybody get this, or maybe it also depends on what they're addicted to, meth, heroin, whatever it might be?
Right. So the pharmacogenetics front is extremely, as you know, it's very new. And I think at this point, I don't think you're going to find a consensus as to how people are approaching the use of pharmacogenetics. Right now, I would like to see this as something that we use to kind of screen for some certain common issues, such as MTHFR, polymorphisms that may predispose you to certain types of conditions such as anxiety or depression, which that's something that I think we can try to address in terms of nutritional on the supplementation front. On the medication front, I think this is where it gets a little bit nebulous. A lot of tests are being used. Some of these tests are being used for, let's say, antidepressants. Where the psychiatry part is, some genes are, makes you a little bit more likely to respond to, let's say, antidepressants, for example. And it's also like statins, get issue with statins. But those, as it affects the current detox, most of it is probably not. But there, as I said, I would like to see this, and again, I'm not sure yet what all the tests we're going to do, but that's one of those things that we are going to look into, and one of those is, folate metabolism, and the other one is the COMT, which is a serotonin issue, and those are the things that we're going to start off with, and then kind of go from there as the science matures. Because right now the science is still, I would say, ongoing, but it's very exciting because it allows us to customize some of our treatments.
Yep. So let me give our readers a little bit of a high level of, again, if they missed the last issue, because we kind of listed everything out. We'll probably actually put it in this too, because I find it really remarkable in terms of the treatment protocols that you have, in addition to CBD. is a medically assisted detox. You know, some people will be against it. Some people are for that. I think I think it's actually very effective. Then pharmacogenetics, kind of checking out their DNA to see what kind of drug interaction would happen. Brain mapping, so scanning your brain to see, you know, what's what as you start the process. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. I mean, I'm thinking like all of these things are generally at some place, you know, out of the country. This is TMS is a procedure that uses magnetic fields to stimulate brain areas of the brain. EEG neurofeedback is the next one. And there's a paragraph on each of these things. Brain food, so we're talking about the fats and things like that to produce, easily produce stuff. The thing I'm personally most excited about is I love NAD. Nicotinamide, adenine, I don't know, dinucleotide, I don't know, NAD, I'll just say. I love that because it's anti-aging and it makes you feel great as well. And all of these, I want to drill down on all of these, obviously not today, but low dose, naltrexone, LDN. I mean, this is like so cutting edge, and there's psychotherapy, etc. But just the physiology side of what you're doing and measuring and then add on that all the CBD stuff, and it's by doctors. It's pretty remarkable. And so the one thing I already know the answer to it, but I'll ask anyway, is do you accept insurance? Because this is another thing, like everything that stuff we're talking about is out of the box. You'd be like, oh, no, we don't take insurance. You take insurance.
Yes, we take everything, Medicare, private insurance, TRICARE, anything, literally anything but Medicaid.
Anything but Medicaid. So if somebody is a vet and they're on TRICARE and they can't get anything except for the halfway house, downtown, Skid Row type of stuff, they can go to a hospital. They don't have to live in Texas. That's where you're Actually, where are they all located? I know that we're starting here in Houston, but where are they or where will they be?
Well, for now, we're in Houston.
Yeah.
And this is where we're going to start the program. And as I always said, you know, I am most interested as a clinician in the best care, not necessarily in the standard of care. And so you alluded to the insurance side of it.
Yep.
Yes, I recognize that a lot of what we do may not be reimbursed by insurance. We get that. But that being said, you know, hopefully this will create enough of traffic and volume such that it allows us some financial flexibility to do all the things that we want to do without necessarily having to always count our dollars and cents. And so, in other words, you know, as I said, I would like to see the best care delivered, and then hopefully you know, we can make a go at it in terms of economics, and in which case, then you know, we can hopefully progress and survive the initial startup stages, so that we can continue our mission. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, I think I speak for all of us here, is that we're not here to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
I think if the quick buck is the ultimate goal, then I think I would say that would be the wrong business.
Yeah.
I like to see, you know, this work not just on the medical front, but also on the economic front, so that we can continue this. Because you cannot continue this, you know, on a money-losing basis, obviously.
And even on the political front, I think as well. I do think I'm not a big fan, my personal opinion, of the insurance companies. I think that they were probably too liberal originally, maybe allowed fraud. There was rampant, you know, fraud and you know, paying patients to go and come out and stuff like that and try things again. And now they just, you know, don't want to pay for anything. I think that there needs to be pressure to provide, you know, reporting and things that are places that are good places like this that are doing things, or JCO accredited and things like that, that are doing things that they're having results. You know, they should be reimbursed. But I think politically it needs to happen as well, because there's 65,000 people dying a year. It's unacceptable. You know, somebody's son, daughter, et cetera, that it's on there. How can they get? How can people from anybody from anywhere can go TRICARE? I blew my mind when you said Medicare as well. So anybody TRICARE, Medicare, everything but Medicaid, they can connect with you from anywhere. Is that right?
Correct. That is true. And one
absolutely amazing.
We are accredited through CIHQ, and they're our deemed provider for CMS. So we are CMS accredited, and with that, we really have a platform here. You talked a little bit about insurance companies and the political side of it. We have a platform here where we can start building data collected from the program. Saying how does it work with detoxing an individual, say, off of an opioid, combining NAD with like a low-dose naltrexone with a TMS or MCBD, stuff like that. And we may not be able to drill down, we may not have the staff to drill down on individual data sets, but saying, hey, this program is working. Collecting that, we can collect the data and say, well, we had this subset of patients that was on this protocol. We have this subset of patients that was on that protocol, and this is the outcome. And we can start presenting that information to insurance companies and to politicians. And
it's going to make a difference.
In the legal.
Right. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the ultimate outcome is how can we keep all the patients drug-free? And that's it. The modalities that we use, to some extent is moot in the sense that it's going to be individualized to what I believe to be the best patient's, pathology. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the data that we have to come up with, so that we can go to the next step and go to the the federal level or the insurance level to be able to get this reimbursed, is that we need to show the results. That's it. It's where the rubber meets the road,
I think that this is going to be a model because your hospitals aren't like a gigantic behemoth, too. I don't know, they're called micro. They're small. They're little, kind of like urgent care type of places, or bigger than that, obviously.
Yeah, we have a mix of New Tex Health owns about 26 micro hospitals throughout the United States, and this is the largest, and this is the one that is CMS accredited. And this one is a 44-bed hospital, so it's a little bit larger. But we're not a conglomerate like a large healthcare system that doesn't have the flexibility to be able to do this, that doesn't have the interest to do something like this. This is something that is not something they would jump off into, and that allows us to create not just the standard of care, but the gold standard. And we have an ability here to say, look, we're really affecting change in this arena, and we have people collecting data here. We're PhDs. It's not like we're just technicians or something, collecting data out of a chart or something. We are backed with education and experience, and our psychiatrist, a 33-year addictionologist. So we have everybody in-house, like I said, either MD, PhD, that's working with the patients and collecting the data and writing these protocols and getting everything put together. And it really is allowing us to bring a package out there to lawmakers and insurance companies. And we surround ourselves with people who have the reach to put us in front of that. And that way we can bring our data sets, and we can this is what we're doing, and this is how these patients are healing. This is how we are fixing this situation. We're not just band-aiding it. We're not just bringing them in for 5 to 7 days and saying, okay, you've been off of, meth for 5 days, you're good, go out and fix your life. We're not doing that. We're really trying to create a continuum of care with a protocol behind it that says we are really healing the individual physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, getting them off of drugs, dealing with, trauma issues, dealing with family issues, we do the individual therapy, we have group therapy, family therapy, and we do all these things. So we really look at the individual from a whole, and it's like, Dr. Chang spoke of the stool. If one leg of the stool falls, the whole thing collapses. So as an individual, just as human beings, I can't take someone and ignore the spiritual side or ignore the psychosocial side. It doesn't work. I can't bring them in, get them off of drugs, and say, okay, well, now you have the skill set to go out and get a job and work your life properly. So these are things with our continuum of care and our PHP and our IOP. We are when we step into that fully, we're starting in our detox and we're moving into PHP and IOP. And when we get in that, we are looking at things like we're addressing job skills, and we're addressing just life skills and stress management classes, and just different modalities that we're adding, because people have to get back their life. They have to function wholly. And if we ignore any of those pieces, we're missing the mark. And so this is like I said, it's a collective data set that we're bringing to the table to truly show that there is a better model, because the one we have now what's out there doesn't work.
And the plan is to deploy this to all of these 26 locations, or even have more locations too?
Sure. So we're going to take the ones that we can do into those, because some of our facilities are, only a couple, like 2 or 3 beds. It wouldn't be, wouldn't be logical or feasible to bring it in there. But we can bring in the outpatient services into those facilities as well, and roll it out to almost all of them,
right.
And then we'll continue to build as well.
I think the vision is also to be able to put together a program that we can say that it works, and then to be able to promulgate this, to promulgate this across the country to make an impact. And we're obviously in the beginning stages of all this, and so we're putting together all those pieces as we speak. And at the end of the day, I think, we just want to have the right intentions in place with the right philosophy in place. And that philosophy obviously is, number one, see the whole patient, and to do no harm, and to be able to, combine all the modalities, as Michelle said, of the spiritual side, physiology, and the mind, all into one. And I hope to be able to tell you all, to all your audience, that a year from now that we're going to be, successful with our treatment, and to be able to show in the insurance companies that, hey, this is the best way to do detox and addiction.
Well, we intend to help you document that to a degree, not clinically, of course. We intend to help evangelize this. We're going to follow you. I think at the end of this month, I'm planning. I mean, this is something we really want to assist with, and so we're going to continue to cover this. This is a second and kind of an ongoing series, because I would love to, in a year from now as well, see this deployed all over the place. And we also understand, one size doesn't fit all. There's not really going to be a methodology. And of course, we meet people that have been to rehab or treatment a jillion times, and we're all very unique. But in terms of kind of giving a jump start to stuff, and then I just would think like the accessibility, and the, covering people that are not covered, like the Medicare and TRICARE and stuff like that, you just don't see it anywhere. So for substance abuse disorder, for, addictions and things like that, I love this. We want to be, help you in any way that we can. So people can get back to you at your website. We're going to have it in here. All the pictures and things like that will normally be linked, but ascenddetoxandrecovery.com. Is that correct? Is that the best place?
Yes.
Okay, so that's ASCEND, Ascend, and then Detox, so there's 2 D's in there, DETOX, and AND, Recovery, ascenddetoxandrecovery.com. And I'll make sure I put the phone number in there. And I just want to thank you for your time. Every time I talk to you, it's been even a better experience to kind of get to really know you and to get your feeling of who you are and what motivates you. Dr. Chang really hit it on the head, is that if you're looking to do this, kind of go into this field kind of for money, it's probably, maybe it's not the right field, but I think that really saving lives like this I call this substance abuse disorder, I call this a socially contagious epidemic. You know, right now we're talking about the coronavirus, you know, and there's all these other things, and there's 15 people that have it, I think, in the United States as I'm recording this. We're doing this today, 15 people in the United States. Hopefully that's going to be it. But it's amazing to me when there's probably a couple thousand people will OD today. There's 65,000 people. So God bless you for doing what it is that you're doing, and we're looking forward to continuing and to cover this more and to take this, look at all kinds of different aspects. So I appreciate your time. Thank you again.
And thank you for your support.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. So this has been another interview by Recovery Today magazine. Got Dr. Michelle Heinrich and Dr. Michael Chang of Ascend Detox and Recovery. And thank you again. If you hang on just 1 second, I'll stop the recording.